New York City's embattled mayor Eric Adams came out last week in favor of cooperation with the incoming Trump administration to capture and remove criminal aliens from the streets of America's biggest city. The problem of criminal illegals allowed into the country by the Biden administration with the support of Democrats from all across the country is absolutely staggering everywhere, but particularly in the Big Apple. New York is home to more than 750,000 illegal immigrants, it's estimated. That's right, 750,000. An estimated 60,000 of whom have previously been convicted of a crime or have criminal charges pending, according to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Mr. Adams, a former NYPD captain, unlike other big city mayors, including Denver and Boston, has now said that he won't use the city's sanctuary policies to prevent ICE from the deportation program promised by the Trump administration. He's now trying to pull an end run around the Democrat Socialist City Council that still refuses to support any part of the Trump plan. This week, he met with incoming Trump border czar Tom Homan. Here's his reaction.
The rights of immigrants in the city that are hardworking, giving back to the city in a real way. We're not going to be a safe haven for those who commit repeated violent crimes against innocent migrants, immigrants, and longstanding New Yorkers. That was my conversation today with the border czar to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city. To protect the rights of immigrants in this city.
Folks on the left are going nuts already just because he said that. Now, look, Mr. Adams' motivations are certainly questionable. The mayor has been indicted for alleged corruption, and he has claimed that those prosecutions are political retribution for his failure to full-throatedly support the catastrophic Biden border policy. At this year's Al Smith dinner, President-elect Trump poked some fun at Adams, but also seemed to suggest that the mayor is, in fact, getting a raw deal. Watch.
Mayor Adams, good luck with everything. They went after you. They went after you, Mayor. Yeah, boy, I knew that. 9.5 months ago, I said, you know, he just said something about it, about the administration. He's going to be indicted any moment. And guess what happened? But you're going to win. I think you're going to win. I know you're going to win. So good luck. Good luck. I don't like what they do. I don't like what they do.
He was in pretty rare form that night. Is Adams angling for a pardon from the incoming 47th president by getting on board with some of his immigration agenda? Very possibly. He's certainly trying to stave off a primary from disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo and others. But whatever his motivations are, New York is now on a path to dealing with its crisis of criminal aliens in cooperation with the federal government. That should be music to the ears of New York's taxpayers, business owners, hoteliers, restaurateurs, and anyone who rely on the massive tourism industry in the city to survive. New York City currently has more than $104 billion in public debt driven by the legacy costs and of public employees unions and social services, only exasperated by harboring 750,000 illegals. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, on the other hand, is taking a decidedly different approach.
The president-elect, former President Trump, his threat is not just towards new arrivals and undocumented families. His threats are also against black families. We're going to protect undocumented individuals. We're going to protect black folks, brown folks, Asian folks. We're going to protect people, and we're going to invest in people.
So Brandon Johnson has doubled down on sanctuary status and rebuffing any attempts by the federal government to deport illegals from the Windy City. It's also, of course, playing the race card, perhaps not surprisingly. Mr. Johnson, who is a proud leftist, is facing a 2025 budget deficit of nearly, wait for it, $1 billion and massive public debt as well. He has vowed to fight the Trump administration in court to prevent the federal government from deporting illegals. Mr. Johnson's solution to all of this? Proposing to raise taxes by $300 million. He also expects the state and the federal government to provide what he calls progressive revenue to close the budget gap. That's called a bailout, folks. I've talked about that. strategy here before. In a recent public hearing on the budget, black residents who were dealing with the illegal migrant crisis in their own neighborhoods were enraged over Mr. Johnson's spending on illegals, while they're struggling with higher costs of living in a city where more than 2,500 people were shot last year.
Okay, so I got a great way how we can what we can do with this budget. First, let's start with cutting off illegals, getting free everything. Free housing, free schooling, free food. Yeah, let's start with that. That'll save us a lot of money. What, $600 million? Let's start there. Then let's start with your salary. You are going down in history as the worst mayor in America. Let's start with cutting yours. You making too much money. Let's start there.
The lefty mayor has apparently spent more than $400 million dealing with an influx of more than 40,000 illegals. That resident at the hearing also pleaded for Trump border czar Tom Homan to come there first. Mr. Johnson cut off her microphone. Mr. Homan has responded to that cry for help this week. Watch.
And we're going to start right here in Chicago, Illinois. Now, if your Chicago mayor doesn't want to help, he can step aside. But if he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors and conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him.
If Mr. Johnson holds firm and Mr. Adams truly cooperates with the Trump administration, whatever his motivations are, it's going to create a contrast of outcomes that could have a much larger political ramifications for America's failing cities. Like that famous book by Charles Dickens, this standoff is going to create the best of times for some and the worst of times for those still unwilling to throw off the shackles of leftism. The social experiment of unrestricted open borders has been a human calamity on so many levels. Democrats who support the policy never like to talk about the hundreds of thousands of missing, trafficked, and abused children that are victims of this horrendous policy. With Trump's team itching for a fight with blue city mayors, the battle royale ahead will only further demonstrate the failure of left-wing Democrats' unwillingness and their willingness to harm Americans for the sake of turning illegals into new voters and an expanded permanent welfare class. This is a fight worth fighting, but certainly one no American of goodwill ever really wanted.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.